I already hit Masters this split, and you clicked on this video because you want to as well. Then follow along in my Season 11 ranked guide, and don't miss the best team comps, best weapons, and the best playstyle for ranked Stormpoint. Let's begin. So what are the best team comps for Season 11 on Stormpoint? On this ranked season, Movement Legends reign supreme, as well as legends like Gibraltar and Bloodhound. So popular comps I've seen in a lot of ranked matches, my personal experience, and what I've seen of other top players is Ashe Valkyrie Gibraltar, Ashe Valkyrie Bloodhound, Pathfinder Ashe Valkyrie, Pathfinder Ashe Gibraltar. Ashe has really come in this season and been a great addition to the aggressive legend pool. She really has taken that top, like aggro / movement legend spot that Octane had. And she has just really come in and make a difference because, she can be very aggressive with her portal, while her portal can also be a quick getaway. And in these teams, you guys can kind of see a pattern and 3 ways to build teams for this map. You kind of want an aggressive legend. You almost always want Valkyrie because of her amazing ability to rotate on this map. And then either a Bloodhound for information or a Gibraltar for dome / protection. The other comp style is very valid, and that can be just an extremely aggressive team. So you kind of just pick Valkyrie here, and then you pick 2 from the list of Pathfinder, Wraith, Ashe, or Octane. And anywhere that I mentioned in the previous list, Ashe or Pathfinder, you can interchange them very easily with Wraith, Ashe, Octane, Pathfinder. Like, these are all interchangeable. There's not one that's maybe better than the other, especially if you like one, you can play it very easily, and it's very valid on this map. But I personally like Ashe, Valk, Bloodhound. What are the best weapons to run on ranked Season 11 on Stormpoint? Stormpoint has really shaken up the meta like we haven't seen in a while. I personally would not recommend any shotguns. This map is too big, and even in close range fights, there tends to still be a lot of space between you and your opponents where shotguns are still not going to hit comfortably. I personally have switched off from my EVA 8 and to a Volt or an R9, and then if I can't find those, I'll pick up the car, because I just think the other 2 are better than the car. But just like also on Olympus, you need a gun that can hit that mid to long range, such as a sniper or a gun like an R301 or a flatline. So you can pair, maybe a longbow charge rifle triple take with an R301 or flatline, or you can go the route that I kind of like a little bit more, which is like an R301 and flatline, which can hit mid to long range, and then you pick up an SMG for those close range fights. So some of my loadouts have been, the R301 or Volt or R301 triple take. Those are very good and have worked for me, but definitely shotguns are not the play. Let's talk about the Stormpoint. What makes it different, what the best spots are, and what spots you don't ever want to rotate through. So first of all, there's AI wildlife, there's spiders, there's prowlers. If you ever have to, hold an area that has a nest, just shoot them. Don't worry about giving away your position. Usually Stormpoint, again, is very big. So unless there's a team literally pushing you, just wipe them out, get rid of that, sound clutter, and the prowlers do a lot of damage and can get very annoying. The other thing is, this map is bigger than World's Edge, and you immediately feel it. Also, that north side of the map is extremely vertical, so it makes, rotating over there very, very important. And again, super important to have height on other teams that, again, rotate in lane. So, rotations are very key on certain parts of these maps, and you just kind of have to analyze them and think ahead depending on where the zone is pulling. Also, the loot is very weird in some places. The big POIs have great loot, and you can split it with other teams. But some of those medium to not as popular POIs can have very inconsistent loot. So that kind of plays into the question of should you contest off of drop, which I will answer in a little bit. But now let's discuss where to land. These are going to be some of the POIs that I enjoy. I'm going to start with graphic here. The ones I like are in red, and yellow ones are the ones that I like to drop on if they are not contested. And now I'm going to throw another graphic up here. Where do I not recommend rotating through? The highlighted areas shown here are the areas I would avoid at all costs. You'll probably run into a few teams. It's just a bad area, puts you in a bad spot. Usually caves and tunnels I don't like, so usually just try and avoid those as well as some other spots, but they're highlighted here. And this map is just really nice. As long as you pay attention, third parties are honestly non-existent. So take that fight, clap that team, and get your RP. What is the best playstyle to consistently gain RP on ranked Stormpoint in Season 11? So let's begin with a question. Should you contest off of drop? And I'm going to say no, unless it's one of the really big POIs like the wall, checkpoint, barometer, where there's a good chance you guys get enough shields and weapons to fight off of drop because there is enough loot usually at those POIs. This map is big enough with enough loot that you should almost always focus on landing alone gearing up, since taking isolated 3v3s is not that hard to find on this map, compared to maybe what you had to do on Kings Canyon or Olympus, since getting third-partied was so easy. On this map, you can definitely find isolated 3v3s later in the game, so try and focus on just looting up and playing smart and trying to rotate and taking those ISO 3v3s because you don't have to worry too much about third parties in the mid game. So there are really two playstyles I alternate between, and it depends on the type of lobby I'm in. If it's round 3 and there's 16 plus teams alive, I play a little different than if it's round 1 with 10 teams alive. And these are really the types of lobbies I've been seeing. So if there are a lot of teams alive late, what you should do is focus on hitting beacon and getting position, putting yourself at the edge of zone, but not just anywhere. Put yourself on the edge where once the zone closes, your back is completely clear of everybody and you are very close to the green zone, which is the next circle, so you have an idea of the teams already holding the deep zone in front of you. And then as the rounds go on, just play what you see in front of you, and don't be afraid to get aggressive, as teams will start to die because a lot of teams will not rotate early, will not get, and once there's so many teams alive and the area just starts getting smaller, they're gonna have to be forced to fight. And at this point, you may be able to just get free kills off of teams that are fighting or teams that rotate in with Storm and are just in a bad spot, There'll usually be big fights of teams that didn't rotate in, and at that point, since you're in a good spot, your back is clear, you can just focus on shooting forward and just pick them off. And then focus on moving in and fighting, obviously, trying to win the game, and if you win the game, that KP will come. So also be patient, don't freak out if, there's 8 teams left and it's round 4 or 5. Like, you'll get your KP. But let's say you're in one of those fast-moving lobbies that by round 2, 10 teams are left. Well, if you detect this, and you have the loot required, try and fight a team on edge. Obviously just look around and make sure that there's not another team just creeping around, but don't be afraid to take isolated 3v3s. On Storm Point, fights can take a little bit longer because it's much harder to third party. As long as there's just not a team right there. Like, it's much better than KC or Olympus, where it felt like your head was always just on a swivel, waiting for that other, 5 teams to just pull up, man. So once you have the KP, you'll get good loot, and at that point you can focus a little bit more on placement and rotations, since even if you rotate late in these lobbies where a lot of teams are dead, you'll have free rotations for the most part. But those are the two playstyles I have been using in ranked this split, and if you guys want to know which legends I recommend and have been using this split of ranked, check out my best legends video for ranked on Stormpoint right here.